relocation rehearsals. The Union Home Secretary reviewed the preparations for strengthening the civil defense mechanisms. The meeting assessed the condition of civil defense installations. In fact, the mock drills come days after Prime Minister Modi vowed to pursue the Pahalgam attack perpetrators and those part of the conspiracy to the ends of the earth. Prime Minister Modi also pledged that India would inflict punishment on the Pahalgam attackers beyond their imagination.
With escalating rhetoric, military posturing,
the United Nations stands ready to support any initiative to commitment to peace.
The United Nations Security Council held a closed-door meeting yesterday where, according to sources, Pakistan's dangerous nuclear rhetoric and provocations drew intense criticism from several member states. Pakistan, despite being a non-permanent member of the Council, had called for this closed-door consultation, hoping to put the spotlight on its grievances against India following the terror attack in Pahalgam. Instead, what unfolded was a diplomatic blow to Islamabad. During that session, the tone quickly shifted against Pakistan. According to reports, Pakistan's envoy accused India of military build-up and making provocative statements. However, rather than gaining sympathy, Pakistan found itself under scrutiny for its own destabilizing actions. The Council members expressed alarm over Pakistan's escalating nuclear threats and its recent missile activities, warning that such moves seriously undermine regional security. Notably, Pakistan's narrative of false flag theory also received no backing, with the international community making it clear that accountability for the Pahalgam massacre is non-negotiable. There was also pointed questioning about the potential involvement of Lashkar-e-Toiba. Delegates also voiced concern that tourists were targeted in the Pahalgam attack based on their religious identity. Pakistan's hope of issuing a joint press statement after the meeting reportedly failed miserably. The session wrapped up with no resolution, no statement, no press release, leaving Pakistan diplomatically isolated and its international credibility further eroded. This meeting came on the heels of a warning from the UN Secretary General, remember, who described the current India-Pakistan situation as the most volatile in recent years. In the end, Pakistan's gamble at the UN not only backfired, but also ended up exposing its deepening diplomatic isolation. And despite the rise in tensions between India and Pakistan, Indian stock markets continue to defy the growing risk narrative. The Pahalgam terror attack, which claimed 26 civilian lives, has fueled diplomatic fallout and public outrage. In the days since, prediction markets like Polymarket have seen a surge in activity. A specific market asking whether India would invade Pakistan before July saw a spike in bets, with odds rising on this question alone. These rising bets signal heightened concern among global observers about the potential for escalation. Yet, paradoxically, Indian equities have remained buoyant. The benchmark indices, in fact, are climbing, fueled by robust domestic earnings, stable macro indicators, and continued foreign inflows. Analysts suggesting that while geopolitical risks are real, investors may be pricing in a limited scope of conflict of diplomatic containment rather than a full-scale war, as speculation of the rising tensions continuing to make headlines. This divergence between the rising market anxiety on prediction platforms and the steady performance in Indian equities, highlighting a complex investor calculus. For now, the financial markets appear to be betting that economic fundamentals will outlast the crisis, or that cooler heads will prevail in New Delhi and Islamabad. And before we go on any further, here's a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. In one of the biggest aerial assaults in months, Ukraine launched a barrage of drones at Russia, This for a second consecutive night. We get you the complete lowdown and what the two sides are saying. Israel has launched airstrikes on Yemen after Houthi rebels struck its airport. We tell you all about the impact and the reactions. Hamas reportedly executed 6 Palestinians for alleged looting amid the food shortages. We tell you all that you need to know. All this and more coming up. We're shifting focus for now to Russia. It has come under back-to-back drone attacks by Ukraine. For a second consecutive night, Ukraine launched a barrage of drones on Moscow and other Russian areas, and this comes just days before Russia's highly anticipated Victory Day celebrations. In fact, on Tuesday morning, Russian authorities reported shooting down at least 19 drones en route to Moscow. No casualties were reported, but flights at 4 Moscow airports were temporarily suspended amid the drone blitz. This surge in attacks comes as Moscow prepares to host global leaders for the Victory Day celebrations. Victory Day is, remember, considered the most significant day in Russian President Vladimir Putin's calendar, as he has long used that day to rally public support and tout Russia's military prowess. On May 9, Russia will mark the 80th anniversary of the surrender of Nazi Germany in World War II and the victory of the Soviet Union. Ahead of this year's Victory Day commemoration, young students from across Russia gathered at Red Square in Moscow to pay their respects to the generation that made their contributions to the war's victory. Rehearsals for the upcoming Victory Day military parade have already started.
May 9 is a really important day for Russia. It's a time to remember those who gave their lives in the war and defended our country.
In fact, Putin is expected to host 29 foreign leaders from friendly countries, including the Chinese President Xi Jinping. And speculation is rife that as Russia prepares to celebrate Victory Day, Ukraine may use the opportunity to attack Russia in front of its allies. Last month itself, Putin unilaterally declared a 3-day ceasefire for Victory Day. The Kremlin said the 72-hour ceasefire would run on May 8 and May 9. And Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky so far appeared to rule out such a brief ceasefire, saying he is only ready to sign up to a ceasefire that would last at least 30 days. But it's an idea that Putin says will need a lot of work before it could become reality. On Tuesday, after the drone attack on Moscow, the Kremlin said that Russian forces still planned to cease fire in Ukraine from May 8 to 10 as per Putin's orders, but warned that Russia would respond if Ukrainian forces try to strike Russian positions.
Будет сразу же даваться адекватный ответ. Пока можно добавить, что, к сожалению, мы до сих пор не слышали из Киева, от представителей режима, от главы режима, мы не слышали ни одного заявления, в котором шла бы речь о готовности присоединиться к этому праздничному.
Russia, meanwhile, continues the missile strikes on Ukraine. The recent attacks by Russia on key regions in Ukraine reportedly injured civilians. West Asia continues to burn. The US and Israel have been carrying out strikes on Yemen. On Monday, the Israeli military carried out more than 10 strikes targeting Hodeidah port. And the Israeli strike came a day after the Houthis fired a missile near Israel's main airport. The strikes injured at least 21 people, according to Houthi-run Health Ministry. The extent of the damage at the port remains unclear, but the intensity of the strikes was enough to cause fire and severe damage to the container's berths. This port is the second largest in the Red Sea after Aden. It also is the entry point for about 80% of Yemen's food imports. The Israeli military is saying that the strikes were carried out in response to the repeated attacks by the Houthis against Israel. The Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu vowed to retaliate for Sunday's missile attack, and the attack occurred Sunday morning. A Houthi ballistic missile had struck near the airport, injuring 8 people and leaving a 25-meter wide crater just meters from the control tower. It was the only one of a series of missiles launched by the Houthis since March that was not intercepted by Israel. Houthi official Abdul Qadir al-Mortada had said in a post on the platform X that Israel should wait for the unimaginable. On the same day, the Houthis also declared a new war campaign against Israel, a new campaign that would basically see the Houthis impose a comprehensive aerial blockade on Israel by targeting its airports. The Yemeni group has resumed its attacks on Israel and Red Sea shipping following a brief suspension after the ceasefire between Hamas and Israel in Gaza ended. The Houthis, who control Yemen, have been firing at Israel and shipping in the Red Sea since the beginning of the war between Israel and Hamas in Gaza, and what they say is solidarity with the Palestinians. The Houthis Humanitarian Operations Coordination Center, which is a body set up last year to liaise between Houthi and commercial shipping operators, issued the warning. The Houthi statement, attached in email, it said, was sent to the International Air Transport Association, the global airlines body, and the United Nations International Civil Aviation Organization. This is the Houthis' response to Israeli plans to expand operations in Gaza, saying they are in solidarity with the Palestinians in Gaza. On Monday, Israel approved a plan to seize the entirety of Gaza and controlling aid to the Palestinian enclave. Netanyahu said in a video message that the new Israel operation would be intensive and would see more Palestinians in Gaza moved for their own safety. He said Israeli troops would not follow previous tactics based on short raids by forces based outside Gaza. The intention is the opposite. That's what he said, echoing comments from other officials who have said the country would hold on to the ground it has seized. As per the latest developments, Israeli troops have already taken over an area amounting to around a third of Gaza, displacing the population and building watchtowers and surveillance posts on cleared ground the military has described as security zones. But the new plan would go further. Israel's security cabinet approved plans for an expanded operation in the Gaza Strip, adding to signs that attempts to stop the fighting and return hostages held by Hamas have made no progress. And since the collapse of the ceasefire agreement in March, Israeli troops have been carving out wide buffer zones in Gaza, squeezing the 2.3 million population into an even narrower zone in the center of Gaza and along the coast, and shutting off the entry of aid trucks. Aid groups have warned the Israeli blockade risks a humanitarian disaster. Remember, so far, Israel's campaign on Gaza has laid waste to much of the Palestinian enclave, and more than 52,000 Palestinians have been killed in the war. As Palestinians starve in Gaza because of the Israeli aid blockade, Hamas has started executing some for looting food stores. You heard that right. According to Reuters, Hamas has executed a number of alleged looters amid incidents in which heavily armed gangs attacked food stores and community kitchens in the Gaza Strip this week. This comes as desperation in the Palestinian enclave escalates following Israeli aid blockade. Releasing a statement, Hamas issued a stark warning to alleged looters, saying, quoting, those who ignore it bear full responsibility, quote unquote. According to recent reports, armed gangs have been looting remaining food supplies in Gaza, undermining Hamas's authority in the area. Now Hamas has accused some of these criminal gangs of collaborating with Israel. And what does Israel have to say about these allegations? So far, nothing. According to the director of Gaza's Hamas-led government media office, Ismail al-Thawabta, looters acted under clan affiliations, while others operated as organized groups.
Mr. President, are you close to a trade deal? Canada, as you meet the new Prime Minister, sir. Do you think the Fed will cut interest rates tomorrow?
All right, those are the latest images, the live images that we're getting to you of US President Donald Trump receiving the Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney. Remember, these are talks that are taking place amid the tariff war tensions, amid the trade tensions as a result of US President Donald Trump's tariff moves that have left a lot of speculation in the air about what lies ahead. This is a significant visit coming in from the Canadian Prime Minister. Let's go straight across now to our correspondent Susan Tehrani, getting us more updates. Susan, what more can you share with us at this point? Of course, a lot of anticipation and a lot to be discussed between the two leaders coming, since this visit is coming at such a significant time.
Yeah, it does, Molly. And also, we just saw that President Trump put on Truth Social, possibly a negotiating tactic that he has is just go on full force against Canada, telling Canada that while we really respect our friendship, Canada has nothing that we really need, whether it's electricity, whether it's the amount of money that we're spending on tariffs, and something needs to be done. That's just in short about what he put up on Truth Social just maybe minutes before we saw the visuals of the two men standing outside of the White House, and they go in and we're told that this meeting is going to be open to cameras. You know, he is meeting with the Canadian Prime Minister really at a time where Canadian and U.S. relations haven't been this salty, for lack of a better word, for a very long time. Trump's steep tariffs, threats to annex Canada on the one hand, and then on the other hand, we're hearing that on Capitol Hill, Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent told lawmakers earlier that trade deals could be announced this week, not specifically with Canada, but with other countries as well. And this is just, again, just hours and minutes before these two men meet. And then when it comes to really what these two are going to be talking about, they really want to not only talk about tariffs, but they want to cement the fact, notably Carney, that Canada is America's second biggest trading partner and one of its closest allies on many fronts. So whether it's national security or commerce, Carney is going to try to hammer this message home that being friends instead of foes is more beneficial, at least for the two sides.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment, Susan. Thanks very much for now. We, of course, are coming back to you as and when we have further updates. And we're shifting focus now to Sudan. That's under a massive drone attack for 3 consecutive days. Explosions rocked Sudan's main port city and wartime capital, in fact, after a paramilitary force targeted the base for the military-led government. The fires from the attack torched the country's biggest fuel depot and damaged the most important gateway for foreign aid. Our next report telling you more.
Thick black smoke draping the city's skyline. Loud explosions and blazes alarming citizens and threatening their safety. This is current-day Sudan, where for the 3rd day straight, drones struck a fuel depot near the port of Sudan. The other key targets were the city's airport and an army base. This is the second such attack on the city in a week, leaving civilians on the edge. If Sudan wasn't already torn by the 2-year-long civil war, fresh troubles mounted when the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, or the RSF, launched a series of drone attacks targeting Sudanese government's seat of power. Since the civil war began in April 2023, Port Sudan has enjoyed a period of relative calm, becoming the base for the army-aligned government after the Sudanese armed forces lost control of much of the capital, Khartoum, to the RSF. Up until last week, Port Sudan was a safe haven for millions displaced by the war. That picture stands changed now, with the drone attacks damaging the most important gateway for foreign aid. Also in recent weeks, the RSF has attacked civilian infrastructure across the army-controlled northeast, causing widespread blackouts for millions of people. And from the looks of it, it shows no signs of stopping. Bureau Report, WION, World is One.
Nearly 80 years since the end of the Second World War, Americans and Western Europeans believed the next World War could occur as early as 2030, just 5 years away. And this would be no ordinary world war. Americans and Western Europeans believed this would be the first to witness the use of nuclear weapons. And according to a poll by YouGov, a British market research and data analytics firm, between 41% and 55% of respondents in the US, the UK, Germany, France, Italy, Spain were of the view that another world war could occur within the next 5 to 10 years. Around 68 to 76% of the 8,200 respondents expected the use of nuclear weapons in the next world war, while between 57 and 73% were of the view that it would lead to greater casualties than World War II. According to the United Nations, World War II claimed at least 60 million lives. Meanwhile, around 25 to 44% respondents believed it would kill most people across the world. A mere 16% German respondents felt that their country could defend them if a third world war broke out, while 71% of Americans had confidence in the US Army. But who do the Western Europeans and Americans see as the possible reason for starting this war? Between 72 to 82% Europeans and around 69% of Americans felt Russian aggression would be the main cause for World War III to break out. Incidentally, the Russian President Vladimir Putin in December last year had warned that World War III could erupt if the Western countries continued their escalation in the Russia-Ukraine war. Interestingly, more than 53% of respondents in France, Germany, and Spain felt that the United States could be the most probable cause of another world war, primarily due to US President Donald Trump's stance on Greenland, Canada, Panama, and Ukraine. With 2030 just less than 5 years away, the clock is ticking. Will we see another world war? What remains clear is that there is growing uncertainty across US and Western Europe about what lies ahead. In a major economic milestone, India is poised to become the world's fourth largest economy in 2025, overtaking Japan, according to the latest World Economic Outlook report by the International Monetary Fund. The IMF projects India's nominal GDP to reach $4.19 trillion in 2025, slightly ahead of Japan's estimated $4.18 trillion, reflecting India's sustained economic momentum and strong fundamentals. This development marks a significant step towards India's vision of a $5 trillion economy, a goal that the report says India could achieve as early as 2027. Looking ahead, India is also expected to surpass Germany by 2028, becoming the world's third largest economy. By then, India's GDP is forecast to grow to $5.58 trillion compared to Germany's projected $5.25 trillion. Despite India's impressive rise, the top two global economies, the United States and China, are expected to maintain their positions. America is projected to hold a GDP of $30.5 trillion, followed by China at $19.2 trillion in 2025. The IMF report also signals a broader transformation in the global economic landscape. After over 8 days of relative stability, the world appears to be entering a new phase of economic reordering, and India is seen as a key player in shaping this emerging order. However, in the face of global uncertainties, including trade tensions and tariff conflicts involving the United States, the IMF has slightly revised India's GDP growth forecast for 2025 from 6.5% to 6.2%. Despite this adjustment, India remains one of the fastest growing major economies in the world. Dreams are truly limitless. Case in point is Flight Lieutenant Shivangi Singh, India's first and only female pilot to fly the Rafale fighter aircraft, who is all set to scale even further heights. After navigating high skies in the capacity of a pilot, she has set her eyes on space now. Sure enough, her achievement as India's only female pilot to fly the Rafale fighter aircraft is huge in itself, to say the least. She is now setting the bar even higher.
A lot of power, a lot of strength you can feel in that aircraft, and once you get airborne, you know that everything is below you and you are in control.
She is someone who has many achievements to her name and many credentials. In 2017, she joined the Indian Air Force and was commissioned in the Indian Air Force's second batch of women fighter pilots. 3 years later, she was the first female fighter pilot to have flown the Rafale aircraft. However, it was by no means an easy feat, as getting selected as a Rafale pilot involves a stringent selection process. It requires a lot of hard work and resilience, which paid off for her in the end. Later, she became part of the Indian Air Force contingent that participated in the Orion War exercise in France, as well as the Golden Arrow Squadron of the Air Force based in Ambala, Punjab. Over the years, she has emerged as the foster figure for India's fast modernizing military, as the poster figure. But for her, this is not just about personal milestones, but a way to show the world that women are truly unstoppable and the architect of their own futures.
Increasing number of these women in our society is not only an indication of a modernization, but also that we can do whatever we want to if we set our minds.
Traditionally, women were thought to be too fragile for the job of flying planes. In India, women were first inducted into the fighter pilot ranks only in 2015, almost 2 decades after they were allowed to join the Indian Air Force. In 2020, the first batch of Rafale fighter jets arrived in India, nearly 4 years after India signed an intergovernmental agreement with France to procure 36 aircraft. It was around that time when women were finally given more control and agency in the field of air defense. It's still a long way to go for female fighter pilots to be mainstreamed, but stories like hers surely leading the way. And as India seeks to stock up its defense arsenal with more aircraft on the way, the future looks promising for more women looking to venture into the field. Moving on for now, Rwanda is in the initial stages of negotiations with the Trump administration over a deal to receive migrants deported from the United States. The country's foreign affairs minister revealed this development, signaling a potential partnership with Washington as the U.S. intensifies its crackdown on undocumented migrants. This development comes on the back of a statement made by U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio last month, where he emphasized America's ongoing efforts to locate countries willing to accept migrants. Rwanda's foreign minister noted that this type of arrangement is not unfamiliar to his government. In fact, Rwanda previously signed a similar agreement with the UK to accept deported migrants. However, that deal ultimately fell apart because of legal challenges. The Rwandan foreign minister emphasized that discussions with America are ongoing, adding that it is still too soon to predict whether a final agreement will be reached. Since assuming office in January, U.S. President Donald Trump has made immigration enforcement a hallmark of his administration. The Trump administration has accelerated deportations, vowing to remove undocumented individuals in large numbers. Earlier this year, El Salvador offered to take in deportees, including those who hold U.S. citizenship, and house them in its expansive prison facilities. Similarly, Panama and Costa Rica are among a list of countries that have accepted deported migrants from the U.S. in recent months. Incidentally, the Trump administration has also introduced a program aimed at encouraging voluntary departures. The initiative offers $1,000 to undocumented immigrants willing to return to their home countries.
Thought we'd do is a self-deport, where we're going to pay each one a certain amount of money, and we're going to get them a beautiful flight back to where they came from, and they have a period of time.
According to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, the program also includes travel and logistical support, with applicants required to process their return through an app called CBP Home. They clarified that the financial incentive is only paid once the individual's return has been verified through the app system. Deporting one person in the U.S. currently costs an average of $17,000, a figure the U.S. hopes to lower by incentivizing voluntary exits. Meanwhile, Trump's border czar has asked the U.S. Congress for more money to execute the large-scale deportations. Thomas estimates the total cost at around $86 billion US. Despite all the noise around deportations, Trump administration interestingly deported fewer people than the Biden administration. From January to April 2025, about 152,000 people were deported under Trump, while the Biden administration deported 195,000 people between February and April in 2024. Elon Musk has warned that at some point humanity would have to leave planet Earth. The SpaceX owner now has a terrifying forecast that sun would one day devour our planet. Revealing his plans for Mars, he says the red planet should be humanity's life insurance. Our next story breaking down Musk's logic for the need of a multi-planet civilization to ensure survival beyond planet Earth. Take a look.
It gave us light, It gave birth to every ocean. It nurtures the forest. It creates life on Earth. The sun, our blazing eternal guardian, is worshipped as a god. It could hold approximately 1.3 million Earths inside it. It's a colossal ball of fire. But one day it will burn out, and before it does, it will swell into a monstrous red giant, devouring Mercury, Venus, and yes, Earth. The same star that gave us life is destined to erase it. Not today, not tomorrow, but one day, inevitably. This chilling cosmic forecast isn't science fiction, it's astrophysical fact. Stars like our sun live long lives, but not forever. Scientists estimate that in about 5 billion years, the sun will exhaust its hydrogen fuel. When that happens, it will expand violently, likely engulfing the inner planets. Earth won't survive. Now the world's wealthiest man, Elon Musk, has a warning and a solution. As the world's brightest minds debate climate, AI, and the next pandemic, Musk sees the sun's slow expansion as the ultimate deadline. For him, Mars is not just a frontier, but a lifeboat for humanity. Speaking to Fox News, Musk asserts that if life is going to survive, it has to become multiplanetary, calling it life insurance for humanity. The owner of SpaceX, Musk predicts humans could land on the red planet as early as 2029 to create a self-sustaining civilization. The plan is audacious. Fleets of reusable starships, domed cities, machines to turn Martian air and ice into oxygen and fuel, and eventually 1 million people thriving on the red planet. But don't pack your bags just yet. The sun's expansion is a threat for the far, far future, billions of years away. For now, Musk's Mars push is about hope, ambition, and a future where humanity refuses to be a cosmic afterthought.
Moving on for now. In India, Odisha has threatened West Bengal with legal action over its decision to name the Jagannath temple in Digha as Jagannath Dham. The tussle between the two states follows the recent inauguration of the Jagannath temple in the coastal town of Digha. The 213-foot high temple is a replica of the popular Jagannath temple in Odisha's Puri, which is counted among the 4 dhams or sacred places in Hindu religion. The controversy escalated further after the West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee described the temple as dham publicly despite criticism from several quarters. Joining the controversy, the chief servitor of Lord Jagannath in Puri took a strong exception to naming the newly built shrine as a dham, saying the name cannot be used for any place other than the Jagannath temple in Odisha's Puri. However, this is not the first time the two states have locked horns. Earlier, West Bengal had accused Odisha of inaction against alleged attacks on Bengali migrants. Last year, it had halted potato supplies to Odisha, triggering a crisis in the state. And in 2019, the two states had fought a bittersweet battle for a popular dessert, Roshagulla. And in the South Indian city of Thrissur, Kerala, a grand temple festival is underway. It's called Thrissur Puram, celebrated at the temple in Thrissur in the Malayalam month of Medam. This festival, which is also known as the mother of all Purams, features majestic elephants, colorful processions, and dazzling firework displays, drawing large crowds each year. Have a look at this. we are moving on for now. New Zealand seems to be following in the footsteps of Australia in terms of limiting social media access to teenagers. In a fresh move, New Zealand's Prime Minister has proposed banning social media for children under 16 years of age. And this is part of its efforts towards protecting children from the ills of the cyber world, as well as demanding greater accountability from social media companies. The New Zealand Prime Minister, in fact, has backed the proposal for a law that would force social media companies to verify the age of the users. The proposed law is supposed to restrict minors from using social media or have the platforms face financial penalties. In November last year, Australia imposed regulation measures for teens in digital spaces as part of its crackdown on children's exposure to cyberbullying and violent content. It became the first to introduce a piece of legislation that banned children under 16 years of age from accessing social media. And New Zealand's proposal seems to be in line with the Australian law that came into effect. But why is this a pressing issue? Teenagers, in fact, are among the most vulnerable when it comes to real-world harms of social media. Experts suggest even though an extraordinary resource, social media does come with its own set of risks and dangers leading to overexposure, stress, anxiety, other mental health issues. It also poses serious safety concerns to the young who often fall prey to addiction and online bullying, which are detrimental to their overall well-being. And New Zealand's proposal is a testament to the fact that more and more countries are imposing social media restrictions in order to shield their young. And there is a pattern emerging with countries like the US, the UK, Norway, France, Germany, Italy, South Korea, Greece, also ramping up measures against teen use of social media. And this is telling of the fact that more and more people around the world are finally ready to have the conversation on what's appropriate for this age group and where one must draw the line. Marking the end of an era, the free video calling portal Skype is shutting down after more than 2 decades of operations. The shutdown will impact both free and paid users of Skype, but Skype for Business will continue its services temporarily. According to reports, Skype's parent company, Microsoft, is allowing users to transfer their Skype numbers and data to the more advanced Teams application. And with the closure of Skype, Microsoft aims to streamline its services and prioritize Teams for both communication as well as collaboration purposes. And one of the oldest video calling platforms, Skype, was introduced to the world in August 2003. It touched hearts, connected people before platforms like Zoom, Teams, WhatsApp even existed. As the pioneer of video calling officially retires, users are sharing nostalgic posts on social media. Skype is not the first tech platform to meet such a fate, of course. Several other popular tech portals were shut down after being replaced by newer and better alternatives. If you remember social networking platform Orkut, its popularity diminished with the rise of Facebook and ultimately leading to its closure in the year 2014. Similarly, Nokia, the go-to phone of late 90s to early 2000s, BlackBerry for that matter, both lost their popularity after the arrival of Apple and Android smartphones. And if you are from the generation that was introduced to portable music through Walkmans and radio, you would know how time has definitely changed. Today we have apps like Spotify and Apple Music for music on the go. With the tech industry witnessing a rapid evolution, it won't be wrong to say that there might come a time when the currently popular tech platforms may become a thing of the past. And on that note, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas tonight. This is me, Molly Gambhir, signing off, leaving you with Gravitas Worldview. Thanks very much for watching.
Catch me on Token Money Magnet, only on WION.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
Ready to dive into your daily dose of news?
Bringing you what's trending in the West and all that's setting trends in the East.
And all of this served up with a side of insightful banter.
We don't just bring you the latest stories.
We bring you your talking points for the day.
And while you do that, from the busy streets of New York, I will provide you with deeper insights on the developments through the course of the day in the U.S.
The show that keeps you ahead of the global curve. A conversation you'd want to be a part of. A place where news becomes an engaging exchange.
We bring you stories that impact your present.
This is World DNA. Join the conversation.
The Earth is sending distress signals. Wildfires, droughts, and melting glaciers. Can we reverse the damage? Explore the harrowing effects of climate change. It's a wake-up call. Global emergency. Climate Tracker on WION World is One.
From the bustling trading floors of Wall Street to the vibrant exchanges of Asian stock markets, WION breaks it down for you to make sense of what's happening. As we reveal the key factors behind events, strategic battles, and the game-changing business decisions that shape the world. We bring you all of this and more on World Business Watch.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens. Now available in more than 190 countries worldwide. Because we believe that the world is one. Watch us in Africa, Europe, USA and Canada, South America, Asia Pacific, Middle East and North African regions. Also available on these digital platforms across the world. WION. World is One.
Vielleicht nur als